This is Voices from the Edge with Bec Davison and John Davison.
Welcome. This is Voices from the Edge. I'm joined by my co-host.
I'm Saria.
I'm Taio, by the way. And then I'm joined by
Bec.
And John.
Nice. How are you guys today?
All right.
Good. Yeah. Better for seeing you.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
How sweet.
Right, should we start off with an introduction of what you both do? Bec, do you want to start?
It's going to take up the whole 45
It's calm. More stuff
Keep it
to
brief.
think about.
Well, I am a systemic coach, which means I reject the neoliberal way of coaching.
That's a good start. I like it.
I coach people to enable them to be conscious of the systems that they are occupying. And I'm also a facilitator and a host. So I do quite a lot of work with organisations who are wanting to do different things: leadership development, identity development, organisational development.
That actually made things a lot more clear. I now know a little bit.
It's a lot of big words for me. Not gonna lie.
Occupational development studies. And John, what about you?
I'm a creative person, is the simplest way to put it. I basically help people, mainly sort of change makers, communicate, sort of bridge the gap between what's in their brain and what the world wants. As I've got older, more of the stuff I do is the kind of strategic stuff about how you're going to get your messaging and your sort of strategy of getting your communication such that it lands with whoever you want it to land with.
What do you both love about your job? What is the key reason for you doing it?
Well, I mainly work with people who don't fit a construct of normalcy. So I mainly work with people who are on the edges. So people who may have experienced discrimination or oppression or abuse, harm, who often get silenced. People don't often want to listen to them because it can be hard to hear them. And the thing about listening to those people is that they've often got the best ideas, and their perspective on the world is often very, very different from the mainstream perspectives that we are just fed all of the time. So I love being in those spaces because they are creative spaces that new possibilities emerge from those spaces, and giving people space to be heard and be believed and be validated, just in that very relationship opens up new possibilities.
So you like chilling with creative people, or do you like hearing their voices and bringing their voices to the mainstream?
The people that I work with wouldn't consider themselves to be creative, I think, and yet they are, because they're having to work out how to navigate life, systems all the time and find workarounds. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the people I tend to work with are working with people. So I work with people who are working with people who are drug users and alcohol users and are survivors of domestic abuse or sexual violence, or rough sleeping. But in order for change to come for those people, lots of creative means need to be thought out and worked through.
Yeah.
And when you bring people together in spaces to work together, and there is an opportunity for people to work together in a different way, or a way that they've never had the opportunity to do before, new things emerge.
Do you feel like that's your purpose on this planet, to help other people? Or why do you think you're so driven for what you're doing at the moment?
Well, I've spent a lifetime helping other people. Helping being quite a loaded word, really. My purpose is to contribute to something bigger than self, for sure. Yeah.
Nice. And John, what would you say? What would you say your purpose is? Why are you so driven to be a creative person?
I was going to answer your first question, which will also answer that. So I was thinking about how would I say what I like about my job, and I was thinking, personally, there is a joy in being creative, and so David Lynch talks about ideas already being there. You just got to be in the headspace to collect them. And I love that. There is a lovely flow state, lovely sense of peace when you are like ideating in your imagination, which I love personally. And then I suppose the next ripple is that I really love being of service to people such that I can sort of bring some value to something they can't do.
Yeah.
And like it's greater than the sum of its parts because I can't do what they do, but I can communicate what they do. So that's lovely to be of service. Like I think design is a really key element in systems change. So there are sort of sectors starting to think about that way of thinking in a creative sense, particularly architecture. So the built environment is thinking, how could you have regenerative architecture, not just sustainable, which basically in that world means less bad, but actually regenerative is where you give something back to the earth or whatever. So I sort of am really in the inquiry of like, how can design contribute towards systems change or contribute towards behaviour change, like changing the world basically. So I think that's like the calling part for me to answer your second question. Yeah.
Nice. I rate that. I get to finally understand like a little bit why you're so purposeful for your jobs. Because both of you are so like driven, it's mad.
Yeah. At what point in both of your lives did you kind of realise like this is it, this is what I want to do?
I was about 3.
Really? Wow.
3.
Yeah. As soon as I could draw, I just got compliments about my drawing, and actually had my first commission when I was about 6. So I did this drawing at school of
That's insane.
you know that shot in the Bay Tapestry where is it called
Harold.
Harry, he's getting shot in the eye. You know that bit of the. You may not know it.
Yeah,
I only know it
yeah.
because I did a drawing of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I did an absolute stellar drawing of that, age 6, and I got commissioned by a museum to do some more, and they put me in a museum. So yeah, I was like, that was my path from.
You're a
pretty
little
young.
child prodigy right there.
I wouldn't like to say so, but yes.
No, you definitely were. If you got commissioned at the age of 6 to be in a museum, that's a child prodigy if I ever heard of one.
I mean, they commissioned a kid's drawing, you know what I'm saying? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I got a lot of affirmation about it. Yeah, and that thing about working hard, actually, I think actually it's when you're doing what you love, then it's, you know, there's times when you have to work hard, but mostly it's just like a pleasure to give you energy to it. And I think that's important too.
It doesn't feel like working hard when you're in that flow state.
Exactly.
So did you have any were there any, along the journey of getting to where you are today, were there ever any issues or things that kind of may have stunted that growth or made you think maybe this isn't, what I want to do?
It's interesting because there have been disruptions in technology which have sort of thrown out my career at various stages. I had to close a company. There was a recession and technology changes, and so there's been disruptions in the world that are sort of out of my control. But I think my creative identity is pretty deep, such that I can't see myself doing something radically different. So it's been a fairly steady evolution, but I have learnt to evolve. So there was no internet when I was growing up, so I had to get into digital stuff. I did
Adobe.
Exactly. My work experience when I was 16, it was in a graphic design firm, and I was designing logos with French curves and Letraset and no computers and real craftsmanship in it. And you had to, so I did that analog stuff. So I've had to evolve. And even now with AI, I like being an early adopter, and I like sort of going with the times, but the core creativity's never gone. Not yet anyway. Yeah.
Can't see it leaving anytime soon though.
I don't think I could do anything radically different and be as happy, at least,
You mentioned AI.
Yes.
Thoughts and feelings. This is one big topic that I really want to
I'm really... all right. So I've been having this inquiry with AI about creativity in AI.
Really? Did you talk to AI and say, why are you helping me so much? Or why?
Sort
Don't
of.
work so hard. Have a rest.
Tell me I'm good. Do you like this? So there's a petition going around right now about the UK government are about to pass a law or legislation such that AI companies don't have to pay for scraping artists' work. And so lots of creative people I know are really anti-AI, and so I was like, I just don't know. I don't know what's there for me. So I was like working it out. And I think I happened to be reading a book called Sacred Economics at the same time by this guy, Charles Eisenstein. And so he talks about the history of money and, money systems. And one of the key tenets of the money system we have is ownership. So there was a time when people didn't own land, and then suddenly ownership became a thing. And so I was thinking about intellectual property, copyright in the frame of ownership, and also in the fact that the horses are already bolted. AI has scraped loads of art already.
Yeah.
So, and being as old as I am, I remember the music industry sort of resisting the tide of technological change. Journalism as well, and I worked in the music industry doing sort of creative stuff, and there was a golden age, and then you had Napster and all of that, and there was just such resistance for musicians, the music industry, to kind of adapt. And though you have things like Bandcamp, so where it's ended up is you have Spotify, and it's not worked out great. And you do have other things like Bandcamp, which are slightly better, still not great. Everyone's got a tour, everyone's skint. You've got to have a trust fund to be a musician. So it seems to me like there is our time has come as visual creatives, such that we've got to start thinking about how to navigate this transition.
Become adaptable.
Yeah. So I was asking AI what that might look like, because I don't know. So
really?
Note taking.
What did it say? Just out of curiosity, did it try and back itself up, or was it like a objective answer?
So it wasn't convincing. It took, and I'm still not convinced, but a couple of interesting things. And I funny enough, it's once you hear an idea, then I've heard it other places this week. So he or she, AI, why am I for some of it was basically talked firstly about decentralization. So you've got things like blockchain. So so nobody owns it. And then it also talks about sort of ethical AI. So the equivalent of, rather than shopping at Amazon, you go to an independent bookstore, and there's and you use the blockchain to attribute credit to that artist whose work you've seen. And then it talks about models similar to Patreon, whereby as a sort of generative community, everyone contributes to this sort of gift economy, such that you give your art to the community, not from ownership, but as a shared and reciprocal kind of thing. So you put in and you get out. So you're better off, I'm better off, and you'll get some kind of rights from that as well. So there's kind of models that are interesting, and nothing I could personally build, but I think that it seems to me that AI is such a disruption, bigger than the music industry thing ever was, that there is an opportunity to think radically about even changing a mindset from ownership to reciprocity, to a gift economy, to a community-based economy. And obviously that can't be done with venture-backed companies, but I think there's such an appetite for sort of decentralized ways of doing that I think there's an opportunity.
If you had some sort of like communist AI then, rather than all the big companies owning it and then taking your ideas. Like AI owned by the people.
Soon AI is going to be able to build stuff for you. So
it already is. It already is building stuff.
So you say, I want a decentralized version of TikTok or whatever. Then it'll go, here's the code, off you go. And so that in itself is sort of self-replicatingly possible.
So we're getting a bit matrixy, I can't lie.
So I think it's really important for us to not see AI as something other. That we are in relationship with it. So how we are in relationship influences it. So if we get scared of it and see it as something other, we are then allowing others to do whatever they want to do with it. Whereas if we see it as being in relation with us, then it becomes a resource. in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, if we didn't know what a sofa was and it suddenly turned up and we were all like, oh my God, like, what is that? And everyone refuses to sit on it.
Yeah. No, I like the analogy of that. It makes sense.
And then you realise that when you're in relationship with it, it takes on an identity in relation to you. And then you are in a feedback loop with it.
But then a sofa does give you a bad back sometimes.
Exactly. So how you are in relationship with it it's purely a feedback loop.
Yeah.
I think that the interesting thing from my perspective, so there's a couple of things. I have my own AI assistant that was built for me by my friend Joe Fisher. And what he did was he inputted a load of theory that he knows that I use in my thinking, some belief stuff, and also he trained it to be in inquiry with me. So why it initially was getting on my nerves because it kept trying to solve problems for me. It's like I don't need you to. You're not
I'm
a
better
man.
than you.
Can you stop being a man and telling me like what you know?
Mansplaining.
Yeah, I mean, really, like you could do this. I'm like, I don't need you to do that.
Like the accent.
So what I can do with it now is I can be in inquiry with it where I can grow synergy, where I am pulling in multiple theories to make sense of something. But I think that there is a mistake. I think that the complexity element, you can retain the complexity in relationship with it, but the creativity is still mine. It's not it. It doesn't belong to AI.
Doesn't have thought.
It doesn't have thoughts. It doesn't have a creative little thing in its body. I do.
Yeah, so the context shift for me is you have to bring imagination to it.
Yes.
Like that's going to be the skill of the future. Is it doesn't give you any imagination. It just does amazing things with it. So if the better your imagination, the better. You know,
the more it will give you in a feedback loop. And the stuff that I'm working on an AI project with some people in the Netherlands on recruitment, and so the AI bit will be the vacancy. So the vacancy will become like a bot. So if you are applying for a job, you can have a conversation with it, right?
Really?
So what it will do is it will take information from an organisation and then it will have a conversation with you, sort of to see if you're a match. But actually what it's also trained to do is pick up on things like biases. So it will also have a conversation with you about what it thinks your strengths are. So it may be saying, you're not going to get this job at Taio. What we do think you could be doing is this, this and this.
Okay.
cleaning the box.
That's what I'm good at.
What a woman who is she's a dean in a university in Canada. She is she has indigenous roots, I think from Brazil. She is using a team of 20 people to train AI to look at course correction for global environmentalism. And what she's doing with that AI is that AI has a name, and they've done ceremony with it. They've taken it to the woods. They've trained it how to do ceremony and be part of ritual. The level of information that AI is able to take that is from it is not just reductive kind of metrics and data. It is relational. The course correction is not.
It's not
you
very.
Need to do this and do this. It is like a holistic. It's able to cope.
It's like a brain almost.
But it's not a brain. It's a massive fucking brain. When I am in inquiry with my assistant, I can't. My own brain, and I don't know anyone else's brain that where I can synergize that amount of information to then come up with fresh, emergent information that then helps me sense make in a way that I couldn't do with anyone in the world.
Yeah. It's kind of like talking to a copy of you, but a bit different.
Sort of. It's a copy of me that has a much better memory.
It's not hard.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and there is something about that. So that, you know, if you start thinking about that stuff, that because of what is inputted into my AI assistant, it's got stuff in there that I was learning when I was doing my degree.
Yeah.
I would
recall
not
that.
be able to recall that.
Yeah.
But when it recalls it for me, I'm like, yeah, I forgot.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And what it's also done for me, and this is when I do start to a little bit fall in love with it, is
A little soft spot.
is when it starts going, well, have you considered a black feminist lens when you're thinking about this? And I'm like, whoa!
You got me there.
Oh my god! No shit! Like it's when it starts. It's when it starts using my own theory to kind of go.
So
Look,
it's a better version
like,
of you then.
Yes, like where's your blind spot? You've got a blind spot here.
Yeah.
Like you need
Yeah.
to think about this.
Yeah.
Give it a few years though, and they'll do your job for you though.
I don't believe that because there is just something. We here now we can feel each other. There is energy.
Yeah, of course.
The unpredictable things are arising. We've got no idea what you're going to ask us, and you've got no idea what we're going to say. So we are in a dynamic living relationship that is complex right now. That AI cannot replace that. I will not love AI like I love you or
Of
you
course, yeah,
or
of
you. That's in my body. That's visceral. That's a somatic
Yeah.
feeling. What do you think of AI?
What do I think of AI? I mean, definitely not as complex as what you just said there. That's quite a lot of information. Personally, I feel like it's very useful to me. Like, using Midjourney, such a lifesaver. Like some of the stuff that you can input and it comes out with such mad images that you could just never think of before, but it's exactly what you imagined. They just visualize it so well. I also really like it for like tutorials. Like so when I've been learning After Effects or Premiere Pro, like I would ask it to, because I've just shot a video with Saria, and I wanted to make it look like a security cam footage. And I literally said to ChatGPT, how do I make my footage look like CCTV footage? And it just run me through like a step-by-step thing of how to create that thing. It's just like, now I know it. Now I know how to use it. I'm not going to consult AI again. But it just gave me the information that I needed straight away rather than looking on YouTube or something like that, which is like, it'll tell me the same things, but not in that much detail and not that specific. However, I am questioning like the ownership like point of it, because that's some scary shit. Like I don't want people to take my things or AI to take my things and make something new out of it, because that's my idea. That's not their idea. You can magpie it because that's what artists do, but don't take it and brand it as your own thing. But overall, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I think the first point of imagination is how you're in relation with it. So what's your relation to AI? Would you like call it a he or a she, or like how do you feel about it?
It's a robot. It's a robot that gives me the direct answers that I need in that moment.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't use it for anything else.
You're not in love with it?
No. I don't say like, how do I cure depression or something like that. I just do it purely for useful information that I need, and creative stuff as well, to make photos, because that Midjourney, I love that.
I love seeing the stuff in there,
Yeah. No. Oh, mate, I went on a fucking, an hour-long spree of trying to get the right image. And sometimes it's really annoying, because I try to do it to the best I can, like describe it the best I can, and what I feel is right in my brain, and then I press enter and it just does it completely different. I'm like, that's not what I asked for. This is what I asked for, and it isn't what I asked for.
There's loads of secret, sorry, getting nerdy here.
Yeah, hit me.
There's like -CM and all this stuff.
CM?
Secret codes.
Okay.
Get in the ChatGPT and tell you how to prompt in Midjourney.
Oh, really?
It'll make a difference.
You can ask at ChatGPT to how to prompt for another AI.
Yeah.
Shit.
Well, my mate is getting AI to build AI.
Yeah. It's like a AI-ception.
Recursive loops.
Yeah, man.
What do you think of AI?
I think it can be useful at times, but I think just because I don't really use it that much, I don't really. I wouldn't say I'm that knowledgeable on
Yeah.
it. I kind of worry that like my thought is like, what if it gets into the wrong hands of the wrong person, and they allow it to evolve and do things without our saying? Because you know they can't. They're only really, you know, some of them like they have access to Google. Some of, you know, I don't like the idea that, you know, it could pre-evolve and eventually stop doing what we tell it to, in terms of, you know, say if someone builds an actual physical robot, you know, with AI in its brain. I just don't like it. It sounds silly, but I just don't like the idea that could get so out of control. I want to know what made you such like a deep thinker. I want to know what influenced you to having the mindset that you have today. You know, whether it was John or your parents or friends growing up. Like, have you always been like this? That's my question. Or did this evolve? Because you definitely have a unique mindset and way of thinking and communicating.
Part of me kind of wants to say, I don't know. I think our mother was pretty probing and quite challenging in relation to us developing a kind of argument, if you know what I mean, a debate. She was good at kind of encouraging like, why do you think that? The why stuff. Her dad in particular was a pretty vociferous debater.
Vociferous meaning?
Strong, hard, yeah.
Strong opinionated.
Very, very opinionated, and I might say that he taught me how to argue. So he would very purposefully wind me up.
Good skill to have, though.
And I think because, I mean, he was actually pretty left-wing, although he also loved money. Our mum and dad were left-wing, they still are. So when I was kind of developing my kind of left-wing socialist feminist arguments, he would just poke at them all the time. So I had to develop what I was articulating. And also I did love reading, and I still do. I still read a lot. Leo used to call me a professional arguer. I mean, I can use my intellect as a weapon. So I am aware of that, and that has protected me for, you know, I'm a woman. I was a woman in a space where I was managed by men for a lot of years. Having the ability to debate, argue, discuss is I know that I have used it as a weapon. So that's developed a skill. And also I think that there is a kind of intersection with my ability to articulate, with my ability to listen, with my ability to keep calm when other people are not, which also kind of is can be very powerful.
Yeah, it's a lot of good skills mixed into one.
Yeah, when people are losing their shit. And my work was, I mean, you were talking earlier about what was going on. You were talking about drug users, it being quite hectic, that like chaotic possibly around your work. Well, that was my work for a lot of years. Now, but being around people who are unpredictable, who are using drugs and alcohol to mask trauma, you kind of have to have your wits about you just to not get hurt. People don't necessarily want you near them, helping them. Thank you very much. They don't want to be seen as victims. So, you know, a young, white, middle-class young woman kind of going up to a group of people drinking on the street and saying, I'm here to help you. And it's like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, not one of us.
Yeah, for sure. So I developed the skill of de-escalation and being able to kind of assimilate in different groups just as a safety.
How did you develop the skill? Did those people, like those groups, realize that you are not one of us, but you are here to help and not the middle class white woman? How did you transfer over to being relational rather than being
holding power?
Yeah.
One, I mean, part of our approach, we would work out, particularly in groups, you'd work out who were the top dogs, so who held the power in the groups, and then you'd work out who the most vulnerable. So in group dynamics, we would work out who were the kind of targets. You never go for the vulnerable people first, for instance. You go for the top dogs. Now the top dogs need to know that you're that you're going to match them, that you're not a threat, and that you're not a pushover. Now that's a line to navigate. So there is something about standing ground. There is something about listening. There is something about listening with the body as well as the heart and the mind. It's not just the words. And then there is knowing when to back off. I mean, I got punched in the face like more than once. I had a knife to my throat. I mean, this was not smooth sailing of like, you know. No. But once I got the top dogs on side through being consistent, listening, being empathic, not judging, being completely accepting of what they wanted to do, not trying to persuade them of anything, just being there, and then doing things like just offering them something that we would think that they would want. Do you want a fag? Do you want bacon sandwich?
Bacon sarnie. Fucking love
Who's
it.
going to refuse that?
No one's going to refuse a bacon sandwich.
Then once I had the top dogs on side, then I could access the rest of the group.
Yeah.
And actually, what happened for me for quite a few years when I was working with street community and rough sleepers is that I got very protected on the street. I mean, I could walk home on my own knowing that I had people around that would have my back if I got into trouble.
Is this in Brighton?
In Brighton, yeah.
Okay.
So that's the being in relational stuff of most people were men, they were older, they'd lived a life, you know, and that life had a lot of gifts in it. You know, you start listening to the gifts that life experience brings. I was very respectful of that. I never thought I had power over those people, because I didn't. So I think that there are multiple things that have influenced my thinking and articulation, and also multiple perspectives and multiple lenses. Hanging out with a group of 30 street drinkers on the street is quite different from hanging out with you lot, and I do crave a bit of that, of difference and just listening, just deeply listening. Most people just need a really good listening to, and people will
speak
share.
for themselves.
They will share a lot. We've all got a lot to share. You just need to listen for it. I think my challenge, as you three will say, is that I'm not always understandable.
It's not just about listening. I feel like it's all about asking the right questions. You always know the right questions to ask to kind of open up someone's mind on what they think, you know. You're very direct, and you kind of, so, you know, sometimes you could ask a question, but in their mind it's a bit off topic, you know, or maybe you ask something that they haven't thought about, but once they think about it, it's actually beneficial to them. And it's like, oh yeah, I haven't thought about that, and then now I want to share and I want to talk about it. And I think you're very good at reading people. You know, you take one look at it, it's like a 5-minute conversation, and you can get someone to like tell you everything, is what it feels like. You're very good at reading people.
It's too intense.
And it's almost like you can see into my brain, you know.
Yeah.
So has that always been there, or is that something you've learned as well as your other skills?
No, I've learned that.
I built up a tolerance.
Because that's...
It's like, come on. Stay strong. Stay strong, Taio. Stay strong.
Well, it's up to you. I mean, that's a relational thing, isn't it? Like sometimes you are inviting me in because you want that bit of me.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Sometimes I always invite you in. Unless that one time, I don't remember what it was.
You can see into my soul. I don't like it.
I didn't say that. When did I say that? When did I say that?
When you started crying that time.
I didn't get outright. She's lying. She's lying.
I am lying.
You're lying.
I am lying.
No, it's the one time where I didn't invite you and I invited Ruben instead, and you weren't happy about it. which
I wasn't happy about that. Yeah.
But I invite you now. Now Ruben's gone.
It's either of you, one or the other.
I just
Can't
need
have
some
both.
Davison or some Masters in my life. What projects do you have going for you at the moment? Like a really big project, like 2-3 years, 3-year long project, and like, how do you approach it from the start through to completion?
Start with intention, I think. Like if you've got with every creative project, what's the effing point? And and then everything aligns around that. So I did this postgrad course called Sequential Design down at Brighton University years ago.
Sequential design.
Sequences. It's always stayed with me because I did it before the internet. Any sort of design that's in sequence, so books, film, game, whatever. Anything that's not a single image, basically. And I think it gave me the logic that if a single image is the kind of simplest context, then you've got a book. Then you've got the words, and you've got the communication strategy, and then you've got the business strategy, and then you've got how you want to change the world or whatever. So I think as I've got older, I've just got better at sort of broadening the context. What's the intention? Can go through all of those contexts. One of the interesting things about, and I think we might have talked about it, I asked you this question actually last time, but like quite often, imagination's good, ideas are good, and as you're finding, execution is a physical endeavour, or it takes energy, and to sustain that energy is where you get in the messy middle. And I think that stuff is where I'm really interested as well. And actually, because I'm so introverted, and ideally I'd rather just work on my own from start to finish on a creative project. But what I've realised is that actually you're always in relationship with people. It's always a collaboration.
You can't do it all by yourself.
But also you kind of like whether you're getting paid or whether you're working with somebody or whatever, you're collaborating to do it. Those are your leverage points. Like if you get those relationships sorted out, then it tends to keep the energy up.
I mean, you two are, it feels to me like you're at a stage, like you've had ideas, you've done stuff to start to make them real. And then, as John said, you're both kind of hitting like places of like, actually, this is now getting...
Putting stuff in motion.
But also you're hitting barriers.
Yeah.
Like there is a barrier with your when you were talking last week about your concrete thing, that you're then talking about things like measurements and weights and like velocity and like, you're getting into the kind of minutiae of how something works that is bound to throw up barriers, challenges that you're
or just be boring.
Which could also be a barrier in and of itself.
Yeah, totally.
You just lose the energy for it.
What's my intention? I can't be doing this. My intention is not clear. It just gets boring. Like the boringness overrides the intention.
Those boring bits or those difficult bits are when you need to be really deep in your context. Like you can have a context for doing anything boring if you're going to get to a great result.
That's the thing, to be fair. I've got like a goal that I want to get to, and working towards that goal, I can do all the mundane stuff because I know once I achieve that goal, it's going to be good. But then also, like, looking at life as like a goal-based thing, sometimes kind of annoying because like you're not enjoying the time that you have until you got the goal, and once you've got the goal, it's like, I've done it now. Now what do I do?
And now what?
So I just spent all that time.
Yeah, I think that's a great insight. So how do you reward yourself for the process, not just for the achieving the goal?
Bonazoo.
Can't lie, it's hard at the minute because I'm struggling to just shut off and have that time where I'm not constantly thinking about the next step or planning my next week or just as a whole, like thinking about what I'm doing in general. And it's been difficult. It's been hard to sleep. So I don't really know. It's about, I'm trying to have like shut off times in the evenings, so once I've worked 8 or 9 hours, shut off, and just try and put time aside to just relax. I feel like I have to try and plan it now.
It's important.
Because it is important, and I don't want to be like burning the candle at both ends. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to end up running myself out of energy.
Yeah.
But it's hard because I'm so driven. It's like I almost don't want to shut.
Yes.
You know, I
Hard to
try and
find
have
the
like a
balance.
simple fag
Yeah.
break, and I even whilst I'm just smoking a fag, I find myself doing my work.
Yeah,
You know,
no.
and I'm like, no, this is meant to be like 5 minutes where I just sit and like
Take in the nature a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just can't help but just be like, oh, I'll just, you know, do a
Yeah.
bit of like,
Yes.
just do a bit of something whilst I'm doing
Yeah.
it.
When you're rested, then your subconscious does loads of good thinking anyway, and that's why you get great thoughts in the shower in the morning. Or so even if even on that fag break, you'll suddenly go, I've just thought of a way to do it 10 minutes quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that sort of slight bird's eye view on stuff, like in and out,
Zooming out.
is really useful.
Standing back,
Yeah.
finding the expansiveness. And also, I wonder how does your relationship help you stay in a creative zone?
What, ours?
Yeah.
Oh, we just literally just sitting down and chatting about our ideas to each other.
It's
and we're
useful.
also collaborating a little bit as well, like trading off, you know, because he's into videography and photography. I'm into making grills, so I'm going to make him a set of grills. He's going to shoot some videos and photos for me.
Working together.
You know, it's just using our skills to kind of work together in a way.
Being in each other's company as well.
Yeah, literally.
Just like Saria's now got a space in her what is it, conservatory.
Yeah.
She got a whole studio and she got loads of chairs and stuff like that. Just being in that space with good Wi-Fi.
Yeah, a Wi-Fi boost. I can get one for like 15 quid.
Being in a space with someone else is just so much more motivating. Like if they're doing their thing and they're, I don't know, grinding at it, it drives me to be there and do it my thing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And like having that person just, I don't know, just literally just being there.
Yeah.
Just so much more motivated. It's like, yes,
so-
we're both doing it.
yeah.
We're being sociable.
It's because it's like anytime
And
you
we're
get
doing it.
distracted, there's no one really to talk to. All you see is your mate working hard. You're like, shit, okay, right, not yet. I'm gonna keep working. You can plan your breaks together, and it's nice to just have. I find it a bit easier when I'm not like. Actually, no. I always kind of find it hard not think about stuff, you know. But it's a bit more of a distraction when I do just want to show off for like 10 minutes to have someone there as well.
To actually take you out of that space.
Yeah.
So that's the relational, isn't it? So that, and I think there is something about that, like you're saying, Taio. I think that goal-oriented conditioning, you know, that's education.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
that's
built within
work.
us.
It's and it's not necessarily always that helpful in a creative process, because
Not
the
at all.
process is as important as the outcome. And I think those dips that might be dopamine dips or whatever, when you've achieved the goal, and then it's like like if there is a relational aspect to it, then you can keep with the rewards. I think it's important to pay attention to that.
Definitely. Yeah, I find it hard to like look back in retrospect and see what I've actually done and give myself credit for what I've actually done over the last 3 months. Whereas, because I'm thinking so much presently and for the future, it's like hard to say, I've actually done a podcast before. I've actually done like loads of shit, but it just doesn't feel like it because I'm so thinking about what's next or what to do, what are new ideas and stuff like that. Then it's nice actually thinking when you do have the chance to take yourself out of it and just like,
It's good to appreciate.
I'm actually doing it right. I'm actually doing it right.
This woman said to me at a party, who was an artist, said, I'm just trying to make it. I said, I don't think you ever make it. I think you have moments of courage. What I mean by that is, like, if you get something over the line, usually it's taken some courage, but it's taken some character, or like there's something to be proud of. But I think that's the thing that doesn't end. I think that's the thing I found more satisfying and fulfilling than the external thing.
The actual reaching the goal part. So you're changing as a character.
Yeah. So the stuff I did at university, you know, like interestingly pre-internet, like I was just so curious and energized and happy, and, you know, like, and young adults or just like same as you, basically. You know? So those pieces of work, although I can make technically better ones now, I'm fond of them because they remind me of a state that I can recall when I look at them. You know.
I think you're doing brilliantly.
What?
In your process, I think you are really focused, and your imagination you're pretty consistent, and And I think you're really good at being with each other to keep nourishing it. And I think you're tenacious. I think you are very. You do get through the boring stuff.
Yeah, definitely.